the average job, lasts 2 to 3 years when you get it. So if you're 50 and you plan to retire at 65, that's 15 years. If you have a job for 3 years on average, that means you're going to have 5 more jobs till your normal retirement age. Wow, is that something you want to do? Hey, how you doing? It's Terry Coker with Coker Franchise Consulting, here for franchise feedback with my friend.
Hi, it's Ray Fanning from Time to Franchise.
How you doing today, Ray?
I'm great, Terry. How are you?
I'm living the dream, buddy. This has been an interesting week in franchising, and what we do is we get together here once a week and we just talk about things that we've heard with the goal of being to enlighten you. So that's why we're here. And Ray, this week out of the mailbag, had a gentleman in the southeast part of our country, and he asked me, he said, Terry, should I just stop looking for a job if I'm going to investigate a franchise, or should I look at a job and a franchise, or what do you think? I thought that was a really good question. So how would you answer that, Ray?
Well, great question. We get that question a lot when people are first starting, and in today's environment, when so many people have been furloughed or laid off, you hear it multiple times a day, as I know you do.
Yep.
Reality is that I always recommend to folks to kind of look inside themselves and to consider all their different options. Most of the people that I'm working with are looking at both. They're looking to compare and contrast both options. And when they're doing that, I always try to put something in their mind to think about hiring their next boss. And the next boss may be a great job. The next boss may be hiring yourself to be your next boss and doing all the hard work for you. But do the homework and look at your time frame, and then you'll be able to compare the options: working for someone else, working for yourself, and then compare and contrast. What about you, Terry?
That's good advice that you gave. I would say you have to try and compare apples to apples. So comparing a job to owning a business is generically work, but it's really two very different paths to income generation. And so you need to make sure that you can understand what's your life going to be like as an employee. So I have a couple vision exercises, that I use with the people that I work with. And, we get down on paper how you want to live, work, and play. And then you need to hold that up against the job that you're interviewing for. And, if you want to spend more time with your grandkids, if you have a boat that you'd like to be on more, you have to ask the question, will the job allow me that time freedom? And then correspondingly, will a business allow me that time freedom? You have to answer that question through two different lenses. And then when you're comparing the opportunities side by side economically, the way an employee earns money and is taxed is very different from the way a business owner earns money and is taxed. So a lot of times people that I've worked with, they'll say, well, what's my salary? Or what's my take-home pay? What's my net? And that's fine if that's the system that you've been used to as an employee, a W-2. But as a business owner, that's not a side-by-side comparison. And so you have to make sure that you understand, the investment level, how the business is going to ramp. So you're necessarily going to make less money earlier, but then where's the catch-up period? And then where's the period where you pull ahead versus what you could take out of the marketplace as an employee? Does that make sense, Ray?
Makes a lot of sense, Terry. It makes a lot of sense. I'm going to give you a follow-up on this, if you don't mind. Because I often hear from people who are in this situation, but they have a slight twist to it, which is, hey, Ray, I'm over 50. I've been used to having a pretty good salary, pretty good, at least they're happy with what the salary is, even if they're working too hard or don't have the control. But now I've lost my job, or I think I'm going to lose my job, or I'm in furlough. What do you tell the people who are 50 plus?
I tell them the same thing as the people who are 40 and 60 and 30. You tend to be out a little bit longer as you age throughout the the work cycle. So a 30-year-old will probably, these are loose, but you'll probably find a job quicker than someone who's a little older because of the position that you've risen to, the skill sets that you've accumulated. And so it probably just takes a little bit longer, okay? If you're over 50, if you're over 55, if you're over 60. So you have to consider, what are the averages? How long are you going to be out? How long will it take to find that next job? And then once I find it, how long am I going to be in that job? Because the days of getting a job and being there, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, those are clearly gone. The average job, lasts 2 to 3 years when you get it. So if you're 50 and you plan to retire at 65, that's 15 years. If you have a job for 3 years on average, that means you're going to have 5 more jobs till your normal retirement age. Wow, is that something you want to do? Because if you start a business and you apply the franchisor's systems and you're successful at that, you'll probably have that one business for the next 15 years. That's a big difference, one business for 15 years versus 5 jobs. So that's what I would say to somebody who's 50 or 60 or 40, do the math. Do the math.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I was talking to a woman out in California who she's under 50, but one of the things she had said to me was that she wanted her last job. And then she said, not a job. I want to have my own family oriented business, and I want to have it until retirement age, is what she said. And I was like, that's interesting. I saw something, and I'll share it, and we'll share it with the folks, about people who are 50 plus, how much longer, just what you said, how much longer it takes them to find a job. And then normally, I don't know if you've probably seen the stats, but people are getting about 60 to 65% of what their last salary was.
I have seen that stat. It's a very discouraging stat, if you're out there looking for a job today.
It takes longer, and you're getting less. So I tell the folks who are doing that, of course, take a look at a job.
Of course.
And at the same point, take a look at the opportunities that you have, and then go through and look at them. But look at it many different, you peel the onion back, there's many different levels to what this could be. And I think that, no surprise to you, how many of these 50 plus people have lots of time, energy, skills, and are really have the willpower to take that next step and start to build something for themselves and their families.
Absolutely. And just make sure you're comparing apples to apples as close as you can. And then that's where, working with somebody who helps people go through this process can be of a real benefit. That's what we do. And on Fridays, we usually huddle up and grab the mailbag and answer a question like this. So if you found this to be helpful, we would appreciate if you leave a comment. If you want to get on our calendars and continue the conversation, just leave a comment below or direct direct message to us, please. I'm Terry, TerryCoker on LinkedIn. And Ray, spell everybody's last name. Spell your last name for everybody out there. Don't spell everybody's last name.
It's Ray Fanning from Time to Franchise, Fanning. Do leave a message, give us a like, and we will certainly look forward to talking with you.
See you next week.
See you, Terry.